very interesting to me. And I have heard this from nobody, and here's what the Knicks must do. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
All right. We have lamented, and you can't dispute this because we know the history. We have lamented the Knicks' ways for 20 years. And when you do that, and when you watch what we've watched, and when you're exposed to what we've been exposed to, the majority, of course, slop over these 20 years, you know, you talk about culture. People tend to invoke the word culture.
Yes.
You usually
It
hear
matters. It does.
It matters. Usually hear more like football programs or college men, but the culture of an organization, right? So let's get this straight as a very, very, very brief reset. This year, Julius Randle, has been out of shape to start the season, all right? He has been incredibly inefficient. He has been disengaged. He's abandoned his leadership role many times, really beginning with not even doing his post-game interviews, and the Knicks are complicit there as well. He has sat on the bench multiple times during timeouts, 15 feet from the entire team, countless technical fouls, and then the other night, the icing on the cake, this malcontent, this miserable player right now had the balls and the selfishness to walk off a court after his team won like they just got waxed by 27 points. So here's what needs to happen. Now, I don't know if the Knicks will do this, but if I ran the Knicks, here's what I would do. Julius Randle, okay, we foolishly gave you that extension. And by the way, he fooled me as well. My bad, you fooled me.
Yes.
I'm wrong as well. We messed up with your contract. Here's what we're not messing up again. You're not playing a second for the Knicks moving forward. Give us your uniform, clean out your locker, and get lost, all right? Because if Julius Randle is permitted to stay around and continuously poison, even though they're seemingly plowing through with these young, resilient kids, if they let him stick around with this poisonous, toxic nature that he flashes every single game, they deserve a lifetime of irrelevance. Send them packing. We're going to obviously trade you. We'll get you for 60 cents on the dollar because nobody wants you. You'll get your wish. You will be an ex-New York Knick, but your season ended the other night. Get lost.
So
Get lost.
It's hard for anyone who's a Knicks fan, like a true Knicks fan, and has watched what's happened over the last 2.5 months or so, to disagree with you, BT. You're 100% right. There's 6 games left. But I think the bigger question, and this is what I came to watching this Julius Randle situation play out over the last couple of days and really a couple weeks, to be honest with you, is why is all of this happening? And the answer is simple. It's because the head coach, Tom Thibodeau, empowers him to do this nonsense because of all the things that you talked about, whether it's the loafing up and down the court, which, you know, was never addressed, never.
Twitter videos every time the Knicks play. Snippets every night.
Disengagement,
right there to see.
Disengagement with his teammates, which is obvious, and you can see that there's a disconnect.
Yep.
Whether it's, you know, these offensive sets where we got to feed it through Julius, get it to Julius in the top of the paint, and let him do his thing.
I almost don't even care about the basketball stuff right now.
I agree,
Okay.
but I'm just telling you, all of this stuff is happening. Like, he's not being chastised for loafing. He's not being, you know, talked to about being a bad teammate. He's not being penalized by not getting, you know, plays called for him. His usage percentage going down because he's not effective. All of these things are happening because Tom Thibodeau is obsessed with empowering him. And you see,
you think that's it?
Of course that's it. And by the way, so in Chicago on Monday night, the New York Knicks, who have won 4 in a row now, the New York Knicks had one of their great wins of this season. It felt really good, right? Obi Toppin played well. Obviously, R.J. Barrett, who's been amazing, for the last 3 months or so, he played well. Q played
Mitchell
well.
Robinson.
Exactly. Even Burks had 20. It was fun.
Fun night,
right? And Thibs was asked after the game, you know, about whether or not, you know, it was beneficial for these young guys to push through and play in these type of moments. And he finally is starting to say, yeah, you know, it is beneficial for these young guys to play. You know, they fought through XYZ. They got to learn how to finish, which is what, by the way, we and Knicks fans have been screaming for the entire year, right? Play the young guys. You're not winning a championship this year. Play the young guys. Empower the young guys. I know your old mindset is, I don't trust these rookies. I don't trust the Quentin Grimes of the world. I don't trust the McBrides. I don't trust these guys. I got to play my vets. Once Derrick Rose comes back, we're going to be all right. Let's Kemba Walker. Like these things that just didn't make sense to fans and to media members because it wasn't working. He just kept doing. He finally came around. But at the end of his comments, you know what he said? I'll let you hear it.
Okay.
Let Tom Thibodeau indict himself.
There's nothing you could do in practice that could replicate the intensity of a game. So why would you not use the game for your young guys to develop? And we have a number of young guys. People forget Julius is still young.
And Julius, why are you throwing Julius? Why are you throwing Julius Randle into this conversation?
I don't know.
He missed it. He said, young guys, you got to use, practice doesn't work. You got to replicate it. You got to do it in games. You can't do it in practice. Oh, and Julius Randle is part of this as well. This is indicative of what Tom Thibodeau has been doing all season long. He's empowering Julius Randle despite the I don't want to call him a cancer because that's just really harsh, but despite the
disconnect that he's had with the team.
The
completely
negativity.
Disconnected.
Right? You see it in the post-game press conferences when
Body
RJ
language,
Barrett
everything.
and Obi Toppin are sitting there together doing a joint conference, which very rarely happens. They're doing a joint.
They do it in college, not in the NBA.
I agree, but they're enjoying each other. Like there's a joy.
That's right.
That's there. You feel it. They feel good about one another. You even heard Toppin a week or so ago talk about, the ball just moves so much. This was the game that Julius was out, right? We're moving the ball. We're sharing the ball, getting open shots. Hell, I'm not sitting in the corner anymore. I'm up at the elbow right now, knocking down 3-pointers on Monday, right? It feels different. And Thibs is empowering Julius Randle to be in that mix when in actuality that's dividing.
Okay, all right.
team.
So let me get this. So we got a couple things at play here. So you're focusing on Thibs, which I get. And by the way, when he chastised us the other night for not knowing the game or weighing it on whatever he said.
That was stupid.
That bothered me as well. But at my core, I respect Thibs. I like Thibs, whatever.
I do too. He's just making a misstep and empowering Julius Randle to the detriment of everybody else on the team.
Okay, but those are two separate issues, even though they are intertwined on a very, very real level. But you've got to remove one before you remove the other. So if you're telling me that you want to fire Thibs, I can have that conversation, which we will. What I'm saying is, before we even get to that part of the conversation, Julius's uniform must be taken away from him.
Yeah.
Because maybe if you do that, maybe it triggers something. Maybe that's the warning flare that Thibodeau needs to stop relying on Thibs.
But Thibs isn't going to do that.
But if you can't play Randle, you've got no choice.
So you're saying the Leon Roses of the world need to say.
I'm saying whoever the hell's running the Knicks, because I don't know who's running the Knicks. Because Leon Rose been hiding under a rock for the last year. Thankfully, Dolan hasn't said a word. I got to be fair to Dolan. Dolan has stayed out of it.
Yes.
And he has for the most part. I don't want to take unnecessary shots. I know we've had issues with Knicks ownership for 20 years. I get that. Dolan has hired people I thought were pretty interesting. He's allowed them to do their job. I have no beef with Dolan right now. Leon Rose, where are you? Where are you? Stop ducking. What did Apollo Creed say? He's ducking. He's jiving. He's ducking. He's jiving. Stop ducking, dude. You need to take responsibility. Now, listen.
I just don't think that's going to happen, BT. Because
evidently, there's 6 games left of the season, so apparently not.
Well, I mean, it would be symbolic, but what would it actually do?
I'll tell you what it would do. It would send a message, number one, to us, which is less important than the more direct message, which will be to the young core of players. Hey, guys, we haven't been perfect this year, but at the end of the day, we recognize what's happened with our former star, and he has now been removed, deleted from the conversation. There are repercussions for lack of professionalism, lack of engagement, lack of tenacity. Like, you don't, you want to create a new Knicks standard. We always hear about the old Knicks standard before we were born when they won the championships. And the Ewing, Mace, Oak, Stark standard, play hard, Pat Riley. What is this Knicks standard? What is this Knick mantra? Do whatever the hell you want without being penalized?
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem.
What's the Knick mantra?
Well, see, because that's happened all season long, in particular with Julius Randle, I don't see them taking away his uniform.
I would
now,
sit him down for the rest of the season.
Could you
Not a
proverbially
second.
do that by dressing him and not playing him?
Players
right?
Union, you want to come after me? Come after me.
Yeah.
Your client is off the team.
There's no way that's happening.
But that's what then the Knicks aren't really getting serious about getting serious.
And that might be the issue. And I think I don't know.
Might
I
be?
don't. Yes, of
That's
course.
the whole issue.
Yeah.
It all starts with culture.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Remember when Joe Judge booted Golden Tate?
Yeah.
Now, as bad as Joe Judge, now everybody around Joe Judge failed. At least Joe Judge had the right idea.
Yeah, but
and the coaching instincts. You're goofing around. You're a detriment. You're being a clown. Get lost.
Yeah.
We're
But
taking the pads. You're gone.
Joe,
which they did.
But Joe also had an ego, and he got in a fist fight with his offensive line coach.
Yeah, whatever. But at
least
least he told Golden Tate, get lost because you're not doing the giant
I
things
agree.
that we need you to do.
Here's the problem. Is Thibs doing that? Is he going to do that to Julius Randle? And clearly he's not, because he's obsessed with him to the detriment of everybody else on this team.
I
So
don't know.
I just
Apparently
don't
not,
think that's
I'm
happening.
just saying what I would do.
And so at the end of the day,
I don't think he's going to do it. No.
You got to think, what's the end game, right, for this Knicks squad this season? Obviously, you're going to start playing these young guys more. If Julius Randle plays more minutes than Obi Toppin in any of the remaining 6 games, I mean, Thibs might need to be fired right after the game if that happens, because we know that Julius doesn't want to be here. He's not a part of the future any longer.
Reportedly wants to be dealt for those who missed it.
Exactly.
Well, now we'll accommodate you. We'll get it 6 games early. Get lost.
And so let these young guys do what they're going to do. And if Thibs isn't willing to do that because he's so stuck in his old school ways, I got to have these veterans play, to the detriment of these young players, then Thibs can't be the coach
Can I ask you a
for
question?
the New York Knicks, BT.
Okay.
And look, we brought this up, I don't know, 2 months ago. When are we going to start talking about Tom Thibodeau? Like, when is his job going to start being questioned, as opposed to, R.J. Barrett can't get things done because, he had COVID and everything else, but he was struggling at the beginning of the season. Julius Randle is, turning into XYZ. Alex Burks is playing out of position. He's a spot-up wing, but they're asking him to be a point guard, and he can't score in the paint at any clip. Like, it always was about the players. At what point do we push it on to Tom Thibodeau? And I think it just starts to clarify when his big piece, who is Julius Randle, just deteriorates in front of our eyes. And if he's going to continue to rely on, espouse, and champion Julius Randle, Tom Thibodeau's not the right coach for the Knicks then. Period. It's as simple as that. And by the way, you're starting to hear some rumblings, same rumblings that we had 2 years ago before they hired Tom Thibodeau, that, hey, maybe there's someone in college that wants to come and be the Knicks coach. And that's Coach Calipari. John Calipari is maybe
Calipari. We're going to go down this road.
He might have run his.
I don't want Calipari.
I don't disagree.
I'm not interested at all.
But you're starting to hear this again. Like, we heard it 2 years ago. We're starting to hear it again about Coach Cal coming to the Knicks. He's got a relationship with Leon Rose. Who knows if Leon Rose is here for the long haul?
Yep.
But that relationship is here.
But the other Kentucky asset, now coach of Louisville, he's gone. That's important.
Yes, I agree.
And that's also, a liaison for Julius Randle that is now gone.
That's right.
So, listen, if Tom Thibodeau's not coach of this team next year, I don't care. Like, I'm not going to get on the air and mount this passionate defense for Tom Thibodeau. What I don't get, though, Tom Thibodeau, who has always been so inflexible when it comes to old school principles. Think about what happened with Minnesota.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns. There was a division. Guys weren't playing. We know the hierarchy there. And, Thibs runs his vets into the ground. And Thibs, runs a tight ship. It's the complete antithesis.
Yeah, but
I have not seen such an unprofessional Nick since Stephon Marbury. I have not seen such an unprofessional Nick since Stephon Marbury. And you talk about...
But why is he this way? He wasn't this way last year.
Listen, maybe there's something going on in his life, and if there is, I really wish him well and peace, but it can't be 3 months. If you tell me there's something you got to get over it. I'm going to bring everybody behind the curtain for what you and I do for a living. And I never speak for the other guys, but I can promise you that this applies to Boomer, to Gio, to Carton, to Roberts, to Sal, to McPherson, everybody on the air. I promise you that there are days when we have something going on in our lives. Our mom just got diagnosed with cancer. Our child's sick. Whatever it is. Do you really think, as much as, and now I'll just speak for myself, as much as I love this microphone, love it. It's like a drug. Love it. But do you think that every single day that I wake up, there's nothing wrong in my life? You know what I have to do? Thank God there's not much, to be fair. But when there is, I got to push it aside, and I've got to be a professional. I've got to be a broadcaster.
You're right.
I've got to do my job.
Of course.
No matter what's going on. And when you abandon the most basic component of your job, now I have no faith in you, I will never defend you, and now you are the enemy, which is why Julius Randle should not play a second this season.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that they'll do this.
Of course they won't.
I don't.
You know why? Because Thibs empowers him. He empowers.
But I don't know if that's the right word, empower. But I don't know that it is.
He doesn't penalize him. Let's put it that way. There's no accountability for Julius Randle from a head coaching standpoint. And to me, that's the issue, right? The reason that Julius Randle has turned into this person is because he's felt frustrated and discontent and pissed off.
Guy gets 20 shots a night.
His mediocrity, his own mediocrity.
He was like this before the stats were even bad. From opening night, he's been off.
Yeah, but I mean,
he wasn't in great shape. I'm telling you.
But
from day one, he was all out of whack.
But whatever it's been, he's still been the man. According to Coach Thibodeau, he's still the man. And so as a result, he feels like he can get away with anything. It's like there is no repercussion. BT, I told you this story. I was one of the really good running backs in the NFL. Jim Fossil got fired. Tom Coughlin came in. The first thing he said to me was, I don't care how good you are. If you're a liability putting the ball on the ground, you're not playing, period. So I had to fix it. Like, I had to change who I was. Julius Randle is never being told he needs to change how he's playing, what his attitude is, and so he keeps doing it, right? You don't have that kind of win that they had on Monday in Chicago, and you take the ball on the final rebound, you flip it back behind you in the middle of the scrum as your team is celebrating, and you walk directly into the locker room. What the hell is that?
Unacceptable. That's why I would take his shirt. 877-337-6666. So, all right, listen, Tiki's going in the coaching direction. I'm obviously going toward the star player. At the end of the day, even though we're focusing on different things, we're getting to the same point in the road. Colossal changes need to occur, and it's just got to happen. That's all there is to it.